Have you ever met the connector? Well, he ponders, he helps, he creates, he writes, he speaks. He basically connects people and brings them together. I speak about Paul Solano of PS and All Marketing Group. At psandallmarketinggroup.com, you will receive an assembled group of Paul's contacts and connections that cross into many sectors of life. Please contact Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com if you are in the market for a wide array of services. Again, please contact The Connector, Paul Solano at 617-240-4130 or psandallmarketinggroup@gmail.com with any questions. And now, here's Paul Solano, the host of Paul Ponders.
Welcome to Hashtag Paul Ponders. I've really enjoyed bringing you fun, informed, intriguing, and pondering podcasts. Many thanks to Hashtag PodPro Entertainment. Today's collaborating sponsor, Scott Albertson of Hashtag Project142.org, Riverworks Credit Union, NMLS number 410564, and Remax Renaissance Realty of Reading. Thanks for listening, rating, reviewing, and subscribing. Let Hashtag Paul Ponders begin.
Greetings, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Well, I'm very fortunate to have today's guests. I want to welcome Deb Barrett-Cutulle, a nationally recognized sand sculpture artist, muralist, singer, and karaoke host. Deb, welcome.
Oh my gosh, it's great to be here, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Really, just incredible. And I've known you a long time. And also, I wanted to focus in on your work as a sand sculpture artist. So how long have you been a sand sculpture artist?
Oh boy. Well, I fell into the sand in 2005. Not literally. I literally didn't fall into the sand, but no, I did. I started in 2005 on Revere Beach, and it was actually at Pearl Street that someone recognized my artwork and brought me to the beach to try it out. So I was, I've been doing logos there for 10 years before I started competing. And I started competing in 2015. So 20 years on that beach, 19.
That's great. And we'll take all that with a grain of sand, right?
There you go. I knew it was coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The salt of the earth, right? And for our listeners in Paul Ponders land, Deb did some wonderful work with some sand sculptures back in 2020, 2021 at Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden, where I am general manager. And somewhere on the Pearl Street Station website, we actually have some wonderful pictures of Deb's great work. So, Deb, I wanted to ask you, and if you would please tell our listeners how a sand sculpture comes to fruition from idea concept to the final completed structure.
Well, it's hard to say exactly where the idea comes from, but having a creative mind is very helpful. I personally feel as though my illustration background, my training as an illustrator, has helped me conceptually. I enjoy sitting down to try to think of an idea. And once I've come up with an idea, which it's hard to say, every idea is inspired by something. But I like it to be totally creative from my own mind. And then the first thing you do is create that idea. Second thing is to consider if it's possible to do it in the sand. So there's a lot of things that people don't realize you have to think about before it can hit the sand. Weight of a particular item and if it hangs over, the edge of something, if the weight of the sand is too much, it will collapse. So there's a lot of points that are thought about before it hits the sand and whether it can be done. And the third is the sand, in order for it to come to light, you have to know how much sand you need to use for that design. That's where it really
Hmm.
gets tricky. In competition, you have to know how much sand you have to try to finish all that sand in a design and work with your design according to what you have. But in a private project, you have to know how much sand to order for your design. So, it's important to be able to recognize how much sand is necessary for a design.
I see. I see. Now, you mentioned something about competitions. How many competitions have you participated in throughout the years?
Well, I've participated in probably 5 events. Two of them are very steady for me presently, still. So I've been at Revere from its beginning, 2005, right up to the present time. And I've been with Treasure Island, sending ovations in Treasure Island uh, for, oh, I'd say since 2010, no, 2009 till now. So those two events I do every year and absolutely love them. I've also done a lot of work with a gentleman, a lot of private jobs with a sculpting friend of mine who I've done doubles work with out of Rhode Island. And I've done work at Hampton a couple of times, not competing, but logo work. And I did a Crystal Classic in Sarasota, Florida 1 year. And I also did a Sand in the City in Nebraska,
Wow.
Omaha, Nebraska. It was,
Seriously.
yeah, it was, and that was on, I don't know, someone said to me, there's no beaches there, but it was in a parking lot and all the sand was dropped in the parking lot. And it was actually like a kind of a sand camp type of thing where people were learning. So it was a really good place for me to be in around 10,000 on 2011. I think I did that. And that was really great for me because I met some great people and learned a lot from this particular event. Yeah.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous. And you mentioned earlier about working with logos. What are some of the logos that you have created in sand art?
That's a really good question. So one of these days, I'm going to go through all my pictures. 20 years of many logos. I mean, there are some of those events in Revere where I could have been responsible for like 15 logos, and there's a lot of logos, but some of them that I can tell you I remember off the top of my head is the Suffolk Downs logo. People around here would recognize that. And Kelly's, Revere Beach Partnership. Oftentimes I have been fortunate to get the event logo, which is always fun. That's always a big one.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, those are in Revere. And in Treasure Island, I've done Sloppy Joe's probably 6 or 7 times maybe. So every year, I mean, that's because there's a portrait there, and I have a little bit of a strength in the portraiture, in the sand. And I've done the hotel that we all stay at called the Bill Ma Beach Resort, which is amazing. I've done that logo and Super Shuttle, many people might recognize. And then, of course, at Hampton, one of my favorite all-time logos that I've ever done is of the purple urchin at Hampton. And I've also done the Budweiser logo. And did a lot of liquor logos for you guys at Pearl Street.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I remember a few of those logos were just
Yes.
so detailed, and the way that you nailed it, I sort of will give a shout out or a plug to I believe the Screwball whiskey, the Screwball peanut butter whiskey, which was very elaborate, very detail oriented.
That was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Really, really was. Now, how do you protect? I'm sure our listeners in Paul Ponder's land are wondering how you protect the sand from the elements of the wind, the rain, the heat. How do you do that?
Well, you know, the heat is never a problem. These sand sculptures are always being accomplished in high heat weather, especially in Revere. We just get the wickedest week of hot weather for some reason in Revere.
Hmm.
But the heat does not hurt the sand sculptures. I mean, we have to keep wetting them. It's important to keep wetting the
Hmm.
sand when you're working on it. If it starts to get dried out, it's not good because it starts to fall apart. You can't
Sure.
put any type of a finish on it to protect it until it's completely done. There's something like for wind and rain. Now that's a whole different story. It's really our enemy. If it's high winds, too much wind blowing around, the sand will dry out very quickly, which makes it
Hmm.
hard to work with. So it's like
Okay.
constantly putting that hose in your hand and wetting down your pile with the proper nozzle in place without destroying. That happens. The worst thing is to put the nozzle in the wrong place and you go to do a little spray over your piece and you dents everywhere. You can really ruin it. But you have to keep it wet. And at the end, when you're at the end of working on something, you have to be done with it. But what we do put on it at the end to protect it from rain as much as possible. I mean, if the rain's coming really hard, we cover it up with plastic and go
Hmm.
indoors. If it's pelting, really pelting rain, we will cover it as a team. Everybody gets together, gets the huge, gigantic rolls of plastic, pins them down. Otherwise, what we do when we finish with an area is we have what we call a windscreen, and it's
Hmm.
literally only 10% Elmer's glue
Really?
and and 90% of water. And it
Whoa.
creates a windscreen that is so protective you wouldn't believe it. You can put your finger through it if you press it hard, but if you put
Hmm.
your hand on it, it's not gonna, do anything to it. It really does help from the wind and the rain. Kind of locks it in.
Sure, sure. Now, just a follow-up question that I have. How many tools do you have with you in your toolbox, if you will?
Oh, that's a good question. Tools. We have tools of all sorts. Some people that I'm always very impressed by, and I have worked hard to lessen the amount of tools in my box.
Hmm.
But some people might work with 6 tools
Hmm.
or one tool primarily for almost their whole piece. There might be one, um, uh, small type paint
Uh-huh.
palette knife that someone likes to work with for detail work, and then maybe, something larger. I probably carry about 25 different tools
Wow.
to make sure that I can do. 'Cause there's texture tools that we can
Hmm.
use. Kitchen. I use a lot of things out of my kitchen drawer. It it's yeah. And people make their own tools. Oh, there's so many things. My husband Artie was looking for his chicken scraper one time.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I said, "Oh, is it brown and square, a little square brown thing?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, never saw it."
Uh-huh. I love it.
No, it was in my toolbox. Little
Just another day at the beach, I guess, huh?
the other day at the beach, and I use it to scrape away sand or to pull sand out of a corner. It's unbelievable the things you can use. And I had someone, a nephew of mine, made me the most incredible tool um, cutting in. He actually built the whole thing. Some
Yep.
people will cut. Another cousin of mine actually cut sharp edges all the way around my hand trowel. so that it would cut through the sand much easier, you know. A lot of people are known to use knives to cut through the sand.
Oh my.
Anything goes, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Anything does go. Now, I know that you have, just to maybe switch subjects a bit, but I know another talent that you have is painting murals. Can you please tell our listeners about past projects you've done with murals?
Yes. My biggest pride and joy with my mural work, I really haven't done a ton of them. I've always enjoyed being flexible with my art, but I have done several murals. One of my biggest pride and joys is one that resides in underneath the Sargent Street Bridge in Revere.
Hmm.
That is 100-foot long mural by
Wow.
by 8 feet in height.
Whoa.
Yeah, and that really took a long time. I mean, it was done on panels, and they dropped
Oh,
those off to me, picked them up when they were complete, brought them back to the city hall. They put this really nice polyurethane like that they use for boats on them, and
sure.
still in good condition now, hanging underneath the bridge through wetness and everything. They really, that's a really prideful piece for me. That was a very conceptual piece. It took a long time just for the idea because they wanted me to utilize many things that had been in that area, West Revere. And I had to look things up. I had to go to the Historical Society, pull up some old photos.
Hmm.
I really had to collage it. And then I also did some murals for Al's Cafes in Boston. And I've got one at South Street Station mural. And I've got one, well, that was in Harvard Square, but that Al's has since closed. But yeah. And I've done a lot of large scale work, not necessarily murals, but large, like a mural in my prop work. I've done a lot of prop work for different,
That's fabulous.
yeah.
That's fabulous. And also, too, just a shout out for Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden in the Tuscany Room. You have a few murals on the wall in the Tuscany Room.
It's easy to forget when you're kind of over here and over there. I,
Right.
oh boy.
Exactly. Well, there are so many, and for those listeners who have not been to the Tuscany Room at Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden, you really do need to take a look at those three beautiful murals that are on the wall of Tuscany.
Thank you for reminding me about that.
You're welcome. Hey, absolutely. Now, another talent that you have is illustrating children's books.
Yeah.
Can you please elaborate on this?
Yes. So, and I love when this happens in life is I like when one thing you leads to another, and you look back at something and go, wow, if I had never, the, okay, let me get to the point. All right. So children's books came from someone that I met at that event in, in Nebraska that I was in.
Hmm.
Yeah. Sand in the City is what it was called. And I mean, if I had never been there, I probably would never have made that contact for children's books. There was a girl there who connected me to the publishing house that she works with. She had been doing children's books for them for some time. And she was there to learn sand. So we kind of helped each other out, became
Right.
roommates and really good friends. And it was because of her that I fell into the children's book business. And I've done 3 books, all of them pretty much through my connections with Heart to Heart Publishing from Louisville, Kentucky. And the names of the books, they're quite, it takes quite a bit of time
I
to
bet.
finish a children's book because there's a lot of pages and there's a lot of conceptualizing,
Hmm.
coming up with, the author is a part of it. some more than others. But the story is given to me, and then you just have to start creating page by page. But I did really enjoy meeting this woman who connected me, and we're still friends to this day. And I've done 3 books. My favorite is called Starbird's Special Gift. I also just finished one. By the way, these can all be purchased on Amazon. I also did one called Princess Pie, which I am the only one who has copies of now. And the other, most recent, is Criss Cross the Crooked Peacock. Cute,
Oh,
cute
wow.
book. That's the newest one that just came out maybe 3 months ago.
Wow. You are just so talented. I am just absolutely in awe of your wonderful talents, and really you're a great singer and also a great karaoke host with Art over at Pearl Street Station Restaurant. So you do it all.
We have fun. But one of the things I wouldn't mind mentioning right now is really my strength as an artist is in portraiture. So if there's
Oh,
anybody out there, yeah, I do a lot. I've done many, many portraits over the years. And that's really my forte is portraiture. I really know how to capture a likeness. Yeah.
that's great. Rather have a forte than a three-tay, right?
Well, there you go, Paul.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's great. So tell me about that. What do you have a studio you work with or you work out of?
I'm sitting in my studio talking to you right now, and I don't know, I know they can't see them, but you can see some of the work behind me.
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. Wow.
Is President Reagan up there in the left-hand corner?
Yep. See Kenny Rogers? Is that Kenny Rogers?
That's Kenny Rogers, yeah.
Yep. Yep. Wow. I see. Wow.
And I forget who this guy
Wow.
wrong with my mind that I can't think of him. Three
Right.
Stooges are
Exactly.
Three Stooges are in there, yeah.
Slightly. Slightly. Yeah. Wow. That is unbelievable. Yeah, for our I am looking at a wall right now. I'll try to just describe it. I see one of your works. Wow. That is so, so beautiful. Yeah, definitely. And this is a hidden talent, and you really don't talk to me a whole lot about your work doing portraits, but wow. Wow.
Where it all began, the clowns. And you asked me about concept. Um,
Yes.
in the sand. Well, the big piece you can see, I'm sorry no one else can see it, but my favorite right over here, the palette,
Yep.
the
Yep.
palette in the sand, that was a People's Choice Award winner. For me and Steve, it was a doubles piece. Well, that idea, that was my year to create. I got to be conceptual. If you look up the top in the middle, the makeup palette, that idea came from the makeup palette.
Oh, wow.
See, I did that makeup palette as a piece in college,
How clever.
and then
Wow.
somehow my brain linked it to that idea for the sand.
Wow. Well, I hope that there's a website or a way for our listeners to reach you, Deb. Do you have a website you work with?
I'm on Instagram, um, Deb Barrett-Cutulle on Instagram, and I'm also on Facebook. They could find me, they could look up Deb's Creative with an S, Deb's Creative, and I should come up when I'm Googled. So if they Google my name, there'll be several places to look at my work.
Really unbelievable. Yeah, and really for anyone in Paul Ponder's land, anyone who's listening to this podcast, I really do invite you to go to those links or those Instagram or Facebook postings that Deb has just alluded to, and you'll see some pretty wonderful, intriguing work. So, Deb, as we start to wind down here, um, congratulations on all your great accomplishments, being a People's Choice winner, nationally recognized sand sculpture artist, and all. Do you have anything else to add before we sign off?
I think you have covered it all, Paul.
Wow. Alrighty.
Yeah, no, I can't think of anything.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's it.
Alrighty. Well, Deb, I want to thank you for being a guest on Paul Ponders, and you enjoy the rest of the evening, and we will catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having. Appreciate it.
Hashtag indeed.
Indeed.
I trust that you have enjoyed hashtag Paul Ponders. Again, my name is Paul Solano of PS&All Marketing Group, and I may be reached via email at paul@paulponders.com to do some more pondering. Many thanks to my longtime collaborative friend and associate, Chalonzo Amos of Pod Pro Entertainment, in bringing you our fun, exciting, informative podcasts. You rock, Techie Chalonzo. With PS&All Marketing Group, I created a side gig to connect you and get things done. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com with any questions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paul Ponders. Follow us on Twitter at Paul Ponders Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Paul Ponders Podcast. Thank you again for listening to hashtag Paul Ponders, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our website paulponders.com, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment, hashtag Paul Ponders lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. Hashtag the new radio. Until we meet again, my friend, stay well. Hashtag indeed.